What is up, guys? Welcome back to Ike Tech and Gaming. We're back here with my 350 QX3. It is my brand new quadcopter. I've had a lot of fun with it. It's an aerial photography quadcopter, so today we're going to make some slight modifications so that the video can turn out much better. Let's hop right in. Alrighty guys, so we have my Blade 350 QX3 here, and the only way to really get my GoPro on this quad to take some really awesome aerial photography is by either using the mounting system that comes with it, which is just hard mounted, and it doesn't look very nice, so I'm not going to use that. So I had bought a camera gimbal setup here that you see, but mounting it to the 350 QX3 wasn't the best. It's not easy, so I had to resort to kind of screwing it on there with the existing mount and then having to tape this battery onto the underside of the QX3. And I really don't want to have to do that. So today we're going to do a couple modifications to the quadcopter to make this go a little bit easier. So the first thing that we're going to do is going to get rid of having to use this horrid little battery pack. Now, to use this battery pack, I had to tape it to the underside of the quadcopter, which makes it all sticky and nasty because I had to use duct tape, and I really hated that. So we're going to be getting rid of this by using an existing plug that came out of the bottom of the quadcopter. Now you see I've taken it apart here, and I've already stripped the wires, and I've already used my multimeter to find out which wires were the positive and negative wires. There was 3 wires. There was a positive, a negative, and then like a data that was for a controllable gimbal. Now, we won't have control over this gimbal, but it will at least be able to power the gimbal through the actual battery inside the quadcopter, which is going to make it a lot easier so it doesn't have to carry around this, which is bad. So the gimbal setup that I bought here, you can see it's got this little plug, and that's where this battery comes in handy. Also, the other thing about this battery is it's only a 7.4 volt battery, and this thing takes up to 12 volts. Now, obviously, the more voltage that this thing is going to have, the better it's going to perform because the more available power it's got to run the motors. So the battery on here is being supplied by, it's supplying this with 12 volts. So it'll have its maximum amount of power, so it's going to provide the best quality video out of your GoPro. So it's got this connector here. The camera also comes with this little plug for this exact reason, is for when you're building a quadcopter, you can solder these two connections into an existing 12 volt out, usually straight from the battery from the motherboard. But we've already got these 2 wires here, so we're going to solder them up, and we're going to give ourselves a connection straight to the battery. So this will be awesome. Let's jump right in. Okay, we've got our soldering iron warming up. We've got the little sponge all nice and wet so that we can cool the soldering iron down or take any existing solder off it that we need. We've got our wires here ready and stripped. The negative one is marked with some black Sharpie. I don't know if you can see that there, but I marked them so that I know which one's which. We've got our connector here, which is already stripped, and we've got our solder. Now, I'm going to fast forward through the soldering job because I want to concentrate and not have to talk, and it's going to be a little slow, so it'll be tedious. So I'm going to pause the video now, make sure everything's ready to go, and then I'll fast forward through so you guys can see the whole process of me soldering these together. Alrighty guys, so now that everything is soldered, we want to make sure that nothing is going to short circuit, nothing is going to come in contact with anything else. So we've pulled the wire back up through the body. As you can see underneath here, we've got the connector there, so we've pulled it up about as far as we can so we can have access to it through this door. You can see here are the two connections that I've made. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hot glue these both individually first to kind of seal them off, and then I'm going to put a little dab of hot glue to hold it together so that this whole chunk can't come back out. So it's just going to be these two wires coming out of here, and then I'm going to stuff it all out of the way inside the body of the quad so that nothing is going to get in the way of anything, and it's all going to be good to go. So I've got my hot glue gun here. It's warming up. It'll take a couple minutes here, and when that's all warm and ready to go, we'll hot glue those together. Okay, now that the soldering and the gluing is done, we can check our connections here. They feel pretty strong. I'm pretty confident that nothing's touching in there. So we're going to go back down to the bottom here, and we're going to pull that through. Make sure nothing's snagging here. And we're going to pull it. Make sure that that's all there. And that looks like it's about where it's going to sit. Right there. We'll tuck away these white wires so that they're not in the way of anything. Tuck that one in there. Put that one way over there. That looks pretty good. That one, that's a third wire. That one can go in there. Okay, now we've got our little plug here. You can see coming out of the bottom of the quad, and that's nice and secure there. Let's fire it up, and we'll see if it runs or if it's something's wrong. We now have the gimbal here with my GoPro on it. As you can see, it's wibbly wobbly. It's not stabilizing anything. I've got my my big battery pack here that goes into my quad, and yeah. So I guess the moment of truth. Let's plug it in. Oh, everything seems to work so far on the quad. So you can see everything's lighting up. Okay, nothing bad yet. Got our gimbal here. Try plugging it in. Let's get the battery out of the way here. Oh boy. Oh. Okay, we're plugged. Oh. Okay, well, our gimbal is working. There's nothing smoking on the quad. The gimbal seems to be running just fine. That's really awesome. As you can see there, it's gimbaling the camera. I don't have a whole lot of range of motion here, so you can see if I go too far, it makes the camera shake. But it is working off of that battery power. That is awesome. But now we face another problem, and that is how to connect the gimbal to the quadcopter. Now that's what we're going to get into next. Okay, so now we are going to figure out how to attach our gimbal to our quad. Now, what I'm going to be trying to use is the GoPro mounting system. Now, you think this is probably weird because you're probably thinking, oh, you're just going to hard mount the camera. Well, I could do that if I wanted to, but it's not going to be very stable. So I'm going to give myself the option to do both without using the quad's already pre-built-in mounting system, because I don't really like it. I want something quicker and something easier. So we're going to be using these. And these are the GoPro quick mounting clip system, whatever you want to call them things. These are a sticky pad, and this sticks onto anything that you want with this really strong 3M adhesive on the back. And this GoPro mount here, this clips into the GoPro case itself, and then these clip together real strong. There it goes. And that's not going anywhere until you want it to, and then it clips back off. So this is going to be mounted to the quad, and this is going to be mounted to the top plate of the gimbal here. As you can see, I've taken it off the gimbal. Now there's this long crease here, and the actual centerpiece kind of goes inside of there. It's kind of hard to see, but I'm going to be holding it right there, and I'm going to center it up, and then I'm going to be epoxying it in as strong as I can. And that's going to be like that then, and then I can just clip this whole gimbal system right into this mount. Now, I'm not going to just rely on this 3M adhesive, even though this 3M adhesive is amazing and I've never had it fall off of anything I've used it on. I'm still going to, I've dropped it now, I'm still going to seal around the edge of it with epoxy too, since I'm going to be using that already, just to ensure that nothing's going to fall off. So, let's hop right in. Okay, I'm going to flip the quad over first here, and I'm going to determine where I want to put this adhesive mount. So I've already figured out exactly where I want to put it. Now, I've centered it up so that the gimbal sits at roughly the same place it would have sat before. Now, it sits very far forward on the quad compared to what some people would think it is supposed to be for, or where it's supposed to sit. But that's just because, and so it won't get the legs in the view of the camera, which is really nice. So I'm gonna take this adhesive mount here, and we're gonna take this plastic backing off if we can. It's always a struggle to get these off. Oh, there we go. I got it. I didn't take the sticky stuff with me either. Alright, so now this super sticky pad is going to be lined up. I'm going to line it up here how I want it. That looks pretty good. How's it looking on that end? A little bit that way. I think that looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to smash that down, make sure that makes contact everywhere that I want it to, so that the GoPro adhesive can make sure and make a nice strong mount. And then we will be epoxying that also. So there we go. We've got the GoPro sticky thing there. As you can see, it's pretty low profile. You can't even really see it right there, and you can barely see it when I put it up that way. It's nice and flat. It's not going to stick out. It's not going to be obnoxious while I'm flying, and it's definitely not going to add too much weight to the camera. So now I'm going to be adding these two pieces here. Now this is going to be epoxied here, and then once that's done, it'll just clip right into there, and you've got yourself a camera, oops, can't see it, camera gimbal setup. So that's pretty awesome. Even then, so I can also take a different one of these clips and use it just like this and just hard mount the GoPro and not even have to worry about the gimbal. That's only if I want some just stock footage that doesn't need to necessarily be gimbaled. Whoa, that went flying. Oh my god. I'm all over the place. Well, let's jump right in. Let's not waste any more time. Okay, I've got my epoxy stuff set up here. I've got some 5-minute epoxy. I've got a little plastic lid. This is from just any plastic lid that you can find. This is just from some cottage cheese or whatever. And those work great because you can just throw them away. That's to mix the epoxy on. And then I've got a bunch of shish kebab or like barbecue sticks. And I just cracked them in half, as you can see there. So I made plenty of them. So I've got plenty of them laying around. And those are nice for stirring and applying the epoxy. So I've got plenty of those there. Now, I've got my little GoPro mount here. Now, as you can see, it's got this little metal nut on it. And those are actually really hard to find. And it's not going to be needed for this. So in case I ever lose one off something else, I'm going to actually take this one off and save that somewhere so that I can use it if I ever lose one somewhere else. So if you guys are doing something like this and you're not needing this little screw or bolt nut thing, don't just glue it in there. It's not needed. So I'm saving that. I'll set that off to the side there. Now we're gonna figure out where this wants to go, and I'm saying right about there, and I'm going to line it up with that hole there, and that looks pretty good. It looks pretty good right about there. Now you see it's at a little bit of a slant, but that's okay because the front of the camera is slanted a little bit too, and it's not going to make a huge deal. I'll make sure it's not too slanted. There we go. That's pretty good. Alright, we're going to leave that there for right now. We're going to take our epoxy. We're going to open her up. And we're going to apply some to this plate. This stuff smells so bad. Make sure we got plenty. Suck some air back in so it's not going to do anything. And cap it back up. Already got some on my hands. Perfecto. Smells great. And we're going to mix this all up to make sure that there's nothing not mixed. You want to make sure it's completely mixed. Otherwise, it won't dry correctly, and then you won't have a strong bond between whatever you're epoxying together. And be careful because this stuff is real hard to remove, and it's really permanent. So be careful whatever you're epoxying. Make sure that you want it there, and you don't have any reason to ever want to take it off, because you're going to have fun taking that back off, let me tell you. Alright, make sure this is all mixed up real good. And we've only got about 5 minutes till it starts getting too thick to apply. So, okay, got that there. We're going to apply it to our gimbal first because that is the most important thing. So that's pretty level. We're going to start applying it here in gratuitous amounts all around there. Ooh, yeah. Get all inside there. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. We're going to leave that for now. We might throw a little bit of hot glue on the inside there just to make sure it ain't going anywhere. But it looks pretty good to me. I think that's going to work. I do think that is going to work.
1 hour later.
Okay guys, so I've given the epoxy a little over an hour to set a little bit. It's not completely dry yet. You know, we should wait at least 24 hours to be using this. But it's dry enough now to play around with and look at. So here's what the plate turned out to be. It's pretty cool. It's really strong. I can feel that the epoxy's still a little squishy, but it's definitely still strong enough to hold everything on right now. And the sticky mount underneath the quad is nice and strong on there too. So we're going to attach the gimbal here. Grab the gimbal. And this takes a while, but we want to make sure that we're going to put it on this way because the clip's got to go in backwards. So let's make sure that this lines up. Actually, it would work better going backwards. So we've got the camera mounted there. It's nice and strong. I'm not going to weigh or put too much weight on that epoxy right now, but I'm going to clip it on just so we can see how that sits, and that looks really nice. I really like that. Look at that. Nice gimbal. It's on there pretty stable. Actually, very stable. It's not moving at all except for those rubber grommets. So, it looks awesome. Look at that. Center that in the frame there. Looks really nice. It's really stable. Gimbal looks really cool. I would say this is a thumbs up. So if you guys like this video, please leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel to keep up to date on all my awesome videos. If you guys want to see the footage of this, keep an eye out for the next video. We're going to be flying this around, testing out my new gimbal setup. It's going to be really awesome. The footage is going to be way better with a correct gimbal setup. it'll be a comparison video coming up next. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See ya later.